Hello there, receive warm greetings right here from Capuchin Television. It is the last day of August and we are here committed to evangelize through broadcasting, bringing you these discourses that every Thursday we are set to discuss with different people, different stakeholders, including family members. And this is a journey to sainthood, the life and times of the servant of God, Maurice Michael Cardinal Otunga. He is a man who has been described as a moral voice of our times, the man of God who exemplified and epitomized the love, care, and concern for all creation, and he is remembered by many as a devoted pastor in the history of the Catholic Church in Kenya. And among his principal apostolates was the family, where he devoted his time to fortify by inculcating the proper values. So today here in studio we are honored to host a couple, the Nabangis. I understand that they are related to the servant of God. You're going to get to know that in their introduction, and allow me to introduce them to you. Oriana papasi.
Ndumulamu. Asante.
Ngoba bolas.
Ala yi, ala mubose. Asangale bele kuliano holo mama waka papa.
Amen. Thank you for coming to speak to us.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe, or we start with Jacinta Nabangi.
So, my name is Jacinta Nabangi. I'm married to Herbert Nabangi, who is the nephew to the Cardinal. Yeah, so I got into the family by marriage, but before that, of course, I also knew him while I was growing up, because we actually come from the same village. Yeah.
Which is?
Mateka village.
Mateka village.
Yes.
That is in Bungoma County.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mama, for creating time to speak to us. And Mr. Herbert, tell us a little bit about your family life and what you do.
Yeah, thank you very much. As you have heard, my name is Herbert Nabangi. First of all, I am the servant of God's nephew, as my wife has said. And he was very close to us. I'll talk about that maybe later.
At a later stage.
But for now, I've lived life as a soldier for many years. When I retired, something happened miraculously, and I got another job without looking, but I got a job. And now I'm working with Strathmore University as chaplaincy assistant, helping out at the chaplaincy to do the work of God.
So was the servant of God a brother to your paternal or maternal grandfather?
He was the brother to my father. He is, I still call him, he is, because servant of God is a new title he has acquired while in heaven. So he is my father's brother.
And you are hoping very soon to advance to the next stage, which is venerable.
We are praying for that.
Yes.
We are praying for that very strongly at home. People pray, even in the Mass. After Mass, all the parishes around the home to pray his prayer and ask for a lot of great things for him. That we already believe as a family he's in heaven with God.
Absolutely.
Because he lived it here.
Absolutely.
In fact, if you remember, the family was crying at the time of burial. They thought he would be declared on the burial day that is a saint. But they didn't declare, but we believe he's in heaven.
And we believe God's time is the best.
Best time, yes.
Exactly. We are sure he is in heaven, and this can be attested by the very many miracles that have been brought forth by those who continue to receive favors through the intercession of the servant of God. You do something with the family. What is it?
What I am involved with the family. In Strathmore University, we have a program for family development. what we do is we want to accompany families to create strong families. And the servant of God was very passionate about this. Through his virtues, we are seeing a lot of them about supporting the family to make sure the family is standing strong. And we also believe, I also belong to CMA, Catholic Men Association, and there we espouse the principle of the motto, which says that good family leads to good church, and good church leads to good society. So without the family, there is no church, there is no society. So we try to promote that. We accompany people. We bring them, those who want to receive the sacraments, we help them receive the sacraments easily. We are in the university without having to go too far, teaching them, catechizing many of them. So we do a lot of that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nabangi. And Mr. Nabangi, as you have heard, he's a retired soldier with an experience that he bagged of 40 years, right? And currently, as you've heard, is the assisting the Strathmore University chaplaincy docket. And the wife here, Mrs. Nabangi, is a high school teacher for quite a long time, and currently the deputy principal at Kibondeni College. And we welcome you, and we appreciate that you created time to discuss with us about the life and times of the servant of God. And as the previous speakers have said, that we owe the servant of God, Cardinal Otunga, a debt of gratitude, because without family, there is no society. And one can never completely or conclusively speak about the servant of God without mentioning the institution of family. This is where we get people who become couples. This is where we get the religious. So both religious and lay emanate from the institution of family. And we appreciate that the servant of God committed his time to strengthen the family through proper values. So on we start, and we give you an opportunity to speak to us. If you have any contribution, comments, any questions about the life and times of the servant of God, communicate to us on 0717-424-866 or 0741-114-031. My name is Asasha Elizabeth, or call me Captain Asasha, and on we start with the discussion. How was your encounter, Mr. Herbert, your first encounter with the servant of God? How would you describe the experience?
Thank you very much. It was around when I was about 9 years of age. And here I come back home after grazing my father's cows. And I find a small car parked in the compound. And a man seated outside the kitchen with my mother. They're talking. And then my mother calls me, come and greet your papa, your father. Come and greet your father. So I came and greeted him. Then he engaged me immediately. He was asking me questions. What's your name? I told him. He asked me which class I was. I told him. He asked me if I know how to pray. He was holding beads in the hands. To me, they were just beads, you know.
But then you didn't understand.
I'd seen a rosary with my mother, but at that time I didn't see as a rosary. I saw beads in his hands.
How old were you by then?
About 9 years, 9, 10. I'd gone to school late. That time we went to school late. So I told him, I have been taught a bit, but I don't know much. So then, of course, he told me how I should be hardworking, how I should pray whenever I wake up in the morning. He told me stories like that, and be obedient to your parents. He told me things like that. And then that was the story. It ended there. But he was very smartly dressed. He was in black, almost all from the top to the bottom, black, smart. But the one thing I wondered when he found him there is that he was seated at the kitchen with my mother. And normally, important people, this car, I think it was the first car he saw in our compound at that time. He was not seated in the big house in the compound. My father was not at home then. And so I kept wondering, important people normally are welcomed in the big house.
Not in the kitchen.
Not in the kitchen. This is a big man. How can it be that simple? He's sitting there. Those are questions when I'm young and I was thinking. And the story just ended. And then later on when I got to know him now, interacting with him.
All right, that is just part of the many testimonies people say about how the servant of God epitomized humility. The man of his stature, just in the kitchen. Yeah, and some of them at that time, the paternal, let me say, some people would consider that maybe a place secluded or set aside for women. Jacinta, you are related to the servant of God by virtue of being married to Mr. Herbert Nabangi. What memories do you hold of him?
Personally, I also encountered him alone. He was not there. After we got married, I had our firstborn. I had been posted to Ngarariga Girls High School here in Limuru. I was teaching there. So one time he came to give the sacrament of confirmation in the parish there. So of course, I personally did not know that he was the one coming. So after the mass, of course during the mass, then I saw that, this is the cardinal. And I was there alone. I mean, of course I know this is my father-in-law. So I said, I was thinking, I need to go and greet him. So after the mass, he was being taken to the convent to have food. So I just went through the convent gate following. So they were taking photographs there. So I left people take photographs, then I went to greet him and introduce myself to him, and I was with our son. Then I introduced myself to him, and I told him, my name is Jacinta Nabangi, I am married to your nephew, Herbert Nabangi. Immediately he saw that, he pulled me now he pulled me closer to him, and then he told me, then immediately he switched to Kibukusu. So he started asking, and where is your husband? So I told him he was in Nairobi. I told him he was not there, and then I introduced our son to him, and I told him, and this one is named after your father. So he said, this is my father, Sudi, come here. And he pulled our son, and then he immediately said, let's take a photograph. Then he instructed the people, we took a photograph, and I was so amazed that the way he was talking to me, he focuses on you. It's like you're in the multitude with other people, but you feel singled out. You felt enveloped by him just focusing on you, giving you all the attention. And the fact that he switched to Kibukusu there, I felt so much at home with him. We were so happy. And in fact, that photograph, when I told my mother and her sisters that I took a photograph with my father-in-law, among the Bukusus, I'm not supposed to shake his hand. Then up to now, my auntie keeps telling me, you who shook your father-in-law's hand. She keeps doubting me about it like that. Yes, a taboo. But then he said, no. We are Christians, and that is, you shake my hand. I felt so warm. I felt so welcomed in the family more. We were like 2-3 years married. I felt so great. It was very nice.
Yeah, quite an elating moment it must have been for you.
It was.
And something that stands out for those who have been following these conversations is that everyone who is in marriage, the first question whenever you find yourself, from what they've said, whenever you find yourself sitting, having a tete-a-tete with the late servant of God, the first question would be on family.
Yes.
That's why he asked you, where is your husband?
That was always the first question.
Yes, so many people I've interviewed before, they say the first thing you'll ask, how is your husband? Where is he? How is your wife? How are your children? That just tells you how much love and commitment he had for the institution of family. And this will take us to our next question. Mr. Herbert, what would you say about the servant of God's standpoint on family, and what family values did he nurture among those who were lucky to meet him?
I will also quote an incident. We used to go to see him in his house, and every time we would go there, the first thing he did was welcome us home. He said welcome. He would tell us welcome home. in Kibukusu again. He rarely talked to us. I don't remember hearing him address me or in my presence when we are in family in English, no, or Kiswahili, no. Always Kibukusu. And he talked the real Kibukusu that is deep, that some words I didn't even know. Okay, so he would ask, first of all, before I got married, he would ask me questions like, how is your father? He started there always. How is your father? How is your mother? Then he went on to ask about my brothers and sisters, all of them. He wants to know where they are, what they are doing, in detail. You know, he would ask you, and you see he's really interested in knowing all of this. And even ask about my uncles, because he had very close to his brothers as well. We'll tell him a bit of what we know. And sometimes we ended up being, we do not know as much as he already knows, even as we are telling him these things. When I got married, something interesting is that every time I went to see him, he would start by asking me, how is your wife? Where is she? How are the children? He would go like that, and then go to my father. It was a kind of chain in his mind. He would not skip any. Slowly, slowly. And he's not in a hurry. He would pay total attention to you and forget he had any other program. So, I mean, from that now, from my own experience with my interaction with him, he had something soft in his heart, somewhere soft up for the family, because he really wanted to know and would tell you something about it. Unity, remain united, he would tell you that. Unity, work hard. If you are studying, he would tell you study harder. Make sure your children go to school. He would tell me things like that. Make sure your children go to school, when he had known them now. And I remember this time when he was in public, banning the condoms and all of this stuff in town, Nairobi town. And he would be speaking as if he's crying, because these things are destroying the family. He would say that. This is killing the family. So you'd listen to him and see he's very passionate about it. My people, what is going on? So he loved family. That's what I would say. He was very cheerful when he talked about family. He would listen keenly. He wants to know. And he would want that you contribute something towards making it even better. That's what he would say. And I remember he would come to Kahawa Barracks, where I was. He's coming to say mass or something like that, a ceremony is there. And of course he would be surrounded by the generals and so on. But anytime he would see me, especially at the end of the mass, he would excuse himself very politely from them and stay behind for me to greet him. And then of course, again there, he would even take his time to want to know about where they are, if they are not there, or ask them to come, we take a photograph with him, even when he was busy like that. He would spare time, not only me, even my other sisters, brothers, they tell me stories like that. So he was very passionate about family, I would say. He wanted us to work harder to make sure that the family stays united. Unity was very important to him. And he encouraged us. Even now as I speak, we meet as family, and we have mass, family mass, every year in December. We come together, we slaughter and cook nice food and eat together and have meetings in the family. When we have any issue, we always come together and pray. Now, in fact, when you go to, as I said about prayers in the parishes at home, it is like we are all praying. It's like one family. I see that a lot. Now the bishop has even given us a parish, so that we pray as family even more united. I would stop there for now.
That's quite in-depth, Mr. Nabangi, and thank you very much for that. For those who are not aware or privy to this information, is that the servant of God vehemently criticized contraceptives, and he even went ahead to invite the Billings, those who invented, the physicians who invented the Billings ovulation method of a natural way of family planning. And I think this is just something that we need to learn and embrace. So he was quoted sometime back that my spirit, that was the time that he had already left his Cardinal home in Lavington and retired in the home for the elderly in Ruaraka. And he said that my spirit is willing to stay longer, but my body is weak. There is nothing greater than love, you know, love that knows no gender, tribe, or race. So he always emphasized that kind of love, the bond, not just within the family unit that is father, mother, and children, but as a family of God. How did this, Mrs. Nabangi, how did the values that the servant of God espoused influence your family life?
Yeah, exactly those values. I think I was thinking on the same lines of when, in fact, that issue of banning condoms in Uhuru Park, it impacted on us personally. And it made us realize which way we had to go now, yeah, in our own married life, yeah, that we had to embrace. You have just talked about our journey. We had to embrace the Billings method and all that, and the two of us, in fact, that's what made us, the two of us started going to matter for these lessons and all that, and that's what we have lived through up to now. That's what we embraced, the natural family planning and the Billings method. So that thing, that having the family to live on the teachings of the church is very, very important, and we have espoused that and lived that. And then the issue of the obedience and service to others. Remember, when he met you, you felt like you were so much loved. And those of us who knew him, like I want to put it like in my daughter's own words, she said, if only sainthood was hereditary, we would rejoice that we inherited it.
Indeed.
Yes. So the search for God, the praying, piety, living a pious life, that one he has impacted on us as a family, but also, as he said, when you go home in the village, I think very many people pray because they say, we come from the Cardinal's place, and we honor him by living the way he has taught us, the way we have seen him live, praying, being very prayerful people, and being kind, being generous, the children being obedient. He used to talk about it so much. If you are young, as he said, I remember when we met him at Ngarariga with my little boy. The boy was 3 years. He says, when mommy speaks, you have to obey her. That's obedience, obedience. And when mommy sent you, you have to go. Service. And at home, the spirit of service, piety are very, very strong because of him. Because of him.
Thank you for that. And do you still uphold these virtues that he espoused, and have you passed them over to your children?
Exactly. We have the piety, we have passed them on to our children. Like, for example, now our own children, when we have something to pray for, the first thing, the first intercessor to go to is the Cardinal. When somebody is asking, they have an issue, please, can we pray together? So I ask, so who do you want us to pray through? The Cardinal, let's say the prayer card. Recently, it was not long time ago, I think it was last year, we had some experience within the larger family, their family. Something was happening that we thought this is a bit, you could say, diabolical. So we said the only thing we have to do is prayer. Then he told all the brothers and sisters, even those who are out of the country, to be saying the prayer card on Zoom from August to December last year. We were going to hold the usual mass. The usual mass at December is normally to commemorate the dead family members. And that thing that happened was threatening that unity. So we said every day at 8 we are going to do the prayer card, asking him for the intercession, to bring the family unity back and to fight the forces that were threatening to tear the family apart. Now, when we held that mass in December, it was better than any other that we had ever held.
Wow.
All the family members who had never been coming for the mass, that time they came. and the joy that was in that gathering that went up to midnight, started midnight the day before, up to towards morning the following day, was incredible. And even the neighbors who came to the mass said, hii misa nayo leo imekuwa tofauti sana. Yeah. So he has built back the unity, and we are going strong together. Yeah.
That's quite inspiriting to hear. Then that's, I think that also adds up to the many testimonies that indeed when you pray to the servant of God to intercede to you, things happen.
Yes.
Great. So we move forward with the discussion. The servant of God spent most of his time entreating people to love one another. And I wasn't there, but just because I'm an ardent reader, I've seen people describe the day he went to make the announcement that he would be leaving his home in Lavington to go and live with people of his age. The statement was very brief. He made that decision. He has always started with the creed, every statement that he does, and I'm told that even his will, there was that creed. I believe in God Almighty. And he completed his statement with a punchline of love one another. It's something that he always reiterated, love one another. But with what we are witnessing right now in our society, it seems like we have fallen short of this love that the servant of God always encouraged us to uphold. What is it that we are not doing right as families? Mr. Nabangi.
Thank you very much. I would first of all, before I come to answer the question, there is about love, the same thing about love. I remember when he had died and we were preparing for the burial, we had a meeting at Basilica, and we were discussing about how do we take care of the family members who are coming from home. Then as we were discussing, one lady was there who stood up and said, I'm part of the family, but she comes from Kisii. And she told us, all along she didn't know that Cardinal Otunga was a Bukusu. She thought all along he comes from Kisii. He's a Kisii. And he took care of her as his own daughter. She studied through the church helping her because the family couldn't do much for her. Until he took her abroad to study. Now she's a big person in the government working and owning a very big farm in Karen here. Then she said, I am his daughter. And now I want you to come tomorrow to my farm. You pick the biggest bull that is there. You slaughter for the family. Oh. I'm part of the family. That's how she put it. So I look at that love you're talking about. He was teaching, and people caught it. There are people who caught his teaching very well. People walked with him, who saw him, loved them, and they are ready to love others. So what are we missing today? I think that's the question you're asking me.
Yes.
Why are things not going right? We have abandoned God. We have abandoned God. We are going for more now for fame, for wealth, and God to us can wait. He's been relegated to the periphery. And therefore the center cannot hold if God is supposed to be at the center. Because we have abandoned him, we will go around in circles and things just fall apart. That's what I'm seeing. Things are falling apart. I do not know, but maybe we will fall apart until we wake up. Maybe. Maybe. But I wish people could see the servant of God had a message, strong message, and he believed in his God very strongly. Because of love for the family, I can imagine even the home for the poor. The poor in where he went to stay.
In Ruaraka.
Ruaraka. They are supposed to be the same. They lived as family. I've gone there several times. They live as family. And he wanted to join them as a member of the family, to live together and love them And he had loved them already. He had shown them a lot of love, joined them. And you can imagine at home people were saying Cardinal should come home, marry, and have a wife. They were ready to give him land if he did that. He said, no, I'm already married, if you didn't know. My God takes care of me. I'm a child of the church. Yeah? So you can give that land to the church if you want. They said, no, we have to give to you. That's what the argument was there. Because they believed that a man has to marry. They thought the priests must be white who are coming in to, he was the first one there.
Yeah, the first.
Yes. So when he ends up building, having the dream of the resurrection garden, for example, he ends up having that in his mind. When he started, he set it up. I don't think he had the idea of what was going to happen later, what we are seeing today. Families are streaming there. We meet very many families ourselves. We go there, as she said, regularly. At least twice a year we go. The whole family, with my grandchildren. And when they go there, they go to the chapel. They look at the mausoleum there. And then they ask, is he also a kuka? Then we tell them, no. He's the greater kuka. This is your greater kuka. They are very amused with these stories. So they really follow. Because we take them through the way of the cross and go around and come to up to the chapel. After the chapel, we go for the visit together. Then we come out. We try to help them to understand that the family has to pray together. And they also see other families there. Very good way of teaching people. So we have abandoned God. That's what I said. We have to put God first. If we put God first, for example, in marriage, he made us believe that if in marriage, you make marriage is made of three to start. We have to go to the church, embrace God in our midst. When we pray and bring God in, it is easier. It's easier. Even living these virtues he's trying to teach us. Without that, you can't live the virtues of a Cardinal Otunga. Some of God's virtues are very highly up there. You cannot reach them. You see them impossible. But when you embrace God, and then you look at the virtues he lived, including the poor, being poor of spirit, because to live Karen, the suburbs that are warm and very nice, carpeted everywhere, very nice place, where security is up to high point. It's like, actually we call it the Vatican of Kenya, where he lived, the Cardinal's place. Now, we still call it Cardinal's place because we used to call there, it was Cardinal who was there. He left there and went there. The family couldn't believe when he went to the poor, making that decision. We expected he would have a place, nice place, high up there. Ideally, what I'm saying is that those of us who are following him, we want to copy his ways. We have to bring God into our lives and believe. Have that faith which God has given us already. Ask for more. Have the hope that at the end things will be good the way his has become. Because he lived it, he has that hope, believed in it, and lived that charity that he used to preach to us. He was living it. If we can do that, even a small bit of it within our families, and even as we teach our children, but living it ourselves. In fact, the parent, starting from the husbands, I would talk about my fellow husbands. We have to lead the family. As I said at the beginning, good family will lead to a good church, and a good church will lead to a good society. When we complain about the society that is there now, we are saying about society which is changing. We can't help it if we don't go to the foundation, which is the family.
Thank you very much for that. And the point is home, definitely. There is somewhere where we are lost and we need to retrace our roots, the proper and the right route that was taught and exemplified by the servant of God. I think you should also weigh in on this question, Mrs. Nabangi. What are these challenges that impede our efforts to live the virtues that the servant of God taught and upheld during his time? Where did the rain start beating us?
Let me talk about maybe where the rain started beating the family on the side of the woman. This issue of equality that was misunderstood and was misrepresented. Where it came from, I don't know. But as he has said, for the family to stand, it has to be structured the way God structured it. But the whole of this school of thought that has come with equality is trying to put things upside down. I'll talk like this and a woman, and they'll say I am the one who is not following the trend. But this issue of equality, of what a man can do, I can do it better, is one of the things that has started beating the family. Because when, as a woman, you take your position, and the man takes his position in the home, then that family will stand and grow the way God wants, and then that family will be strong. So we women, we have to really, it's not only the women, the men, there's something they have to learn. What does it mean to lead the home? And in the women, we have to learn, what does it mean to make, what is our position and our work in the home, and what is their work? We cannot do better what the men can do. We have our job, they have their job. They can do a bit, he can help me to wash utensils, but I do utensils better. He can help me to change the children, to do all that, but that's not his major work. Yeah, his major work is the person who shows the children, the family, the outside world, and I am in the home. He's the protector. Me, I cannot never do that job of protecting, of showing the children the world. I'll show the children the home, but his job is to show the children the world. His job is to mentor his boy children when they start going. Yeah, and without that mentorship, then we are having weak families, weak bonds in the family. Children who don't have, who don't have, the way to go is not clear, you know, when they are brought up with that proper leadership, proper headship. So I think that is where we really have to think. It's not being, we have to study. What did Paul say when he said, women be submissive? It does not mean that the man has to come and beat me up. No. We really have to leave that in its context. When Paul said, man has to love his wife, what did he mean? We have to go there and study and let the truth come out of what Paul meant. And let's leave that. Let's not confuse those roles. Because God, personally, structured it that way. And if we follow that way, then I think the families will be strong. And we are going to do something. In fact, when you do your job, you enjoy it. I mean, when I'm trying to change the car tire, actually I don't enjoy it. Yeah, I'd rather cook a nice stew. I'll enjoy it. He can cook for me. On my birthday, he gets with his children, they make a cake for me, a surprise. Yeah, but, yeah.
Once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah. So that is it, yeah.
When the situation calls.
Calls, yes.
All right, that is it. And on the issue of when the servant of God was questioned about his decision to leave this posh suburb, his home, and go to live with the elderly, allow me just to quote what he said, that in quotes, I love my church, and I am so humbled that they wish and want me to have the very best in my retirement. But there is nothing wrong living with these old people. I am old. You will be someday. After all, we have come from these old people. I think there wouldn't be any other stronger response that would be given at that particular point. That these people also matter. Everyone, like, life is just at stages. So we all grow old. So if we say we sideline some of them because of your stature, that means you consider the others less valuable or lesser beings, of which, according to God's plan, everyone is of importance. This is the highest point of humility that was demonstrated by the servant of God. Many scribes, many journalists have written about it. The titles, most of them, the prince who left the palace to go to live in the slums, you know. So how do we as family members replicate this in our families, in our small Christian communities, in churches, and in our groups where we belong to?
Yeah, it's a very powerful example to us that all are equal in the eyes of God. And therefore, and when my time has come to give way for someone else to take over, let me not stick there and refuse to move like other people do. Even now in our families, like now at our age, we are letting the children take over things, take over control of their lives and so on. Sometimes, as parents, we want to continue controlling the children instead of giving that freedom. Slowly, as they start making decisions, from a certain age, as they are growing up, they have to learn to make decisions. So that as we teach them, they're making decisions, they make them wrong, we help them along the way. Time will come when you're not able to be controlling or making decisions for them. So you let them do it. Even in the home, there are people also, a husband who is controlling the wife, to the extent that she can't make even any decision to, let me cook this for my husband. He must have said they have to eat this. I think it is wrong. Let them, in their own way, freedom and responsibility they have, decide what they can do for you or for the family. Or suggestions, let all suggest. Parents, we should sit down with our children and have them to learn how to make suggestions in the family. This is what I want. We teach them from early age, and then they grow up being responsible. We transform them from the cheap babies that they were into mature people, responsible enough to face the world. And then give room for them to make mistakes, because that's another challenge that we have. Even among ourselves, within the groups that we belong, sometimes people make mistakes and we judge them very harshly. The servant of God allowed a lot of room for people to make mistakes. He corrected where necessary. Many times he prayed for them. And I think we can also pray for our friends, our brothers and sisters when they go wrong. Like she's talked about the example we did in our family. We keep doing those examples where, such examples where something's wrong, instead of going straight to now condemning and so on, we say, no, this one's an attack on us or on so and so. Let's pray together. And in the process, people get ideas on what should be done, and things are resolved amicably without coming into cases and so on. We have many cases between families. People are divorcing or separating, and they are doing it like a joke, They don't realize that marriage. President Paul talks about when you have taken a person to be a husband, even if you've not gone to church, that in heaven, God knows. And therefore, this idea of, now I'm tired with this one, you want another one.
Get a new one.
A new one. You're offending your maker. And we end up paying in a very painful way at the end of it, which is, why can't we spare ourselves this? Even if we think it will never come because now things are okay. Let us know that God does not close his eyes. God sees, God is working with us, only that he does not interfere. He doesn't interfere, but he's there. We need to obey his commandments. If we leave the commandments, can you imagine? If we just leave commandments, even half of them, we will be living like in heaven, here on earth. But because we don't have time for them. We are running for the wrong things. And as I said earlier, if the sender is not made strong, even if you build what round, it disintegrates. It doesn't hold together. There's no glue for it. Only God can keep us together. That these powerful virtues that he's taught us, we need to go back to his writings and what people have written about him, so that we can, even the prayer, his own prayer, has so much in there. The prayer of Saint, we're praying for his beatification and canonization. It carries so much information for us to read, extract, and apply. We will live simple lives that are honorable and still holy in the eyes of God. And we'll take more people to heaven. We will not block people from going to heaven.
Thank you for that, Mr. Nabangi Herbert. And you mentioned that you do family prayers, intercessory prayers to the servant of God. You also do visit his resting place at the Resurrection Garden here in Karen. How else, or what else do you do to keep and preserve the holy and heroic virtues of His Eminence Cardinal Otunga in our families and society?
I think the issue of visiting his grave twice every year is our key, and we're keeping that. And then also, especially when we go home, we normally, like when we go to the Resurrection Garden, we get the prayer cards in Kiswahili, other languages, and we send them home. We give to the people at home to pray. That's one thing that we do. And then, as I said, also our children, his prayer card is the first to go to for anything. Those are the key things that we've been doing. Recently, when I went home, I was just thinking, you know, after Mass at home, daily Mass, at the end, the prayer card of the servant of God is one of the things that the whole congregation recites at the end. This is an idea that just came to my mind. In fact, he's going to hear me saying that. I was just thinking, at home, like I just came from home last night. So the Mass on Tuesday, I went to the parish, and schools were opening, and the church was packed with the students, both primary and secondary in that parish. In fact, it was overflowing, 6:30 a.m. Mass, So, of course, they say, and then all of them recite that prayer card at the end. In fact, the students who lead that. So I was coming out of there, I was just thinking, suppose through the parish and these young children, we just tell them 10 shillings for the canonization of the servant of God. I was just thinking, you know, they could give 10 bob, just 10 bob. So I was just thinking of it. I've not told him, I've not told anybody. I'm saying it here. I don't know why I'm saying it here on Capuchin TV.
So it can reach more people.
So it can reach more people.
Yes,
so yeah. So maybe we could, I don't know, I could approach the parish priest and maybe some heads of secondary primary school and ask if that can be done. Yeah.
That would go a long way.
We can pray a lot about it.
Yeah, sure, we can pray about it. That can be go a long way to support this cause of canonization of the servant of God. And Mr. Nabangi, how do you intend maybe in the future to keep the legacy of His Eminence Cardinal Otunga alive? Briefly.
One thing is to live it, first of all. Try to live it, what he taught us and how he lived, of course. Then, of course, share with my other people about the same. I'm already actually doing that, I would say, when I talk to families or parents. I talk to parents a lot in schools and the university. And what I tell them is that if you want to love your children, first of all, love their mother. Love their mother. By the way, my children know the mother as my queen. My children now know that. I call her my queen. Why did I decide to call her my queen? You know, the queen, when we were growing up, we knew Queen Elizabeth. And that time, you heard stories about the queen, like everybody was glued to look at the queen. We want to see what the queen is doing, where is she going, how is she dressed. She was a symbol of beauty, I remember when I was growing up. So I say now, I have to put my wife in a position that I can be looking at, you know, even when I'm in other circles, I know that my wife is there. I'll go home, I'll eat her food. Whenever I'm doing investment, anyway, I'm thinking I'm doing it for my wife first, before my children, even if they're the ones who will enjoy these things. But for now, it is for my wife and myself. So this is that love the mother of the children. Then they tell me that, you see, some of us don't even have wives. but we have children. I said, but where did you get the children from? Where?
Where?
Where? Did you get them on the street?
It takes
walking?
two to tango.
Yes. Wherever she is. We love her the way you, she doesn't have to accept you, but you love her. Then the children will see, will learn a lot from it.
Absolutely.
And they will love you for it.
Thank you very much. And as we wind up, I would like just to focus on this special day. The 6th of September, it will be on a Wednesday. This is the day we will be marking the 20th memorial anniversary of the servant of God, Maurice Michael Cardinal Otunga. Just tell us a little bit about how special is this day to you as family. I'll start with you, Mrs. Nabangi.
First of all, we are doing the prayer card more, towards it. The children are all sensitized. He keeps posting on the group who is going to do which duty during the Mass. Our last born son already volunteered that he's going to do the reading. Then our firstborn son was volunteering to speak, but you said not from the same family, other family. Now that ours has already volunteered to read, now the other. So it is very, very special. We are sensitizing people at home. When I was there, people are saying we wish we could come. We are sensitizing them on the 6th. Those who will come, will come. Those who will not be able to come, they are saying we shall be together in spirit.
And we shall be there as Capuchin TV to ensure that we record and stamp the moment. We record that for the future reference. How about you? Can you please tell us, Mr. Nabangi, the preparations and how special is this day, especially to the family members, the servant of God and his religious family, because he held everyone closer as a family?
One about the family at home, or people who come from, who are in the family at home, and maybe in Nairobi. We are talking about bringing more of them to be aware of what is going on. And especially the fact that the Office of Beatification needs support from the family. We want them to get more and more involved. And whenever there are activities, we want to be there as family and get to understand what it is and participate in it as family. We're trying to do that. In fact, I was telling my cousins that now we have to bring the grandchildren on board. We bring them closer to walk right there at the center, so that times will come when people have to run faster, and maybe we can't run that fast, especially during canonization. And I'm telling them the canonization will be yours. That's what I've been sharing with the family. This canonization is for the grandchildren. Where are they? We want to bring them on board. We are hoping on that day some of them will come, and after the Mass we would like to have a session where we can sit somewhere, maybe have something to eat together and talk about this.
Thank you very much for that. I am told that our time is up, but there's quite a lot to share and learn about the journey to sainthood and the life and times of the servant of God, Maurice Michael Cardinal Otunga. We are proud to be alive today, and as the chairman of the Central Committee, Father Peter Kaigwa, says, may it be God's will that this process does not outlive us, so that we live to witness this greatest moment in our church in Kenya, in our lives, and even beyond borders, because he was a global figure who touched lives even beyond the borders of Kenya. As your parting shot, what do you wish to say, Mrs. Jacinta Nabangi?
We are so lucky in Kenya to have a saint. Actually, he is a saint according to me. We are just waiting for the church to say it. Personally, I'm already saying it. So Kenyans, we are very lucky to have an intercessor who loved our country so much. And I think when our country seems to be going through turbulent times, again, another intercessor to go to is the Cardinal. I remember very much how he loved Kenya and how self-forgetting he was. Sorry, but maybe I should say this story. We went, one time he was sick. He was in Nairobi hospital, and him and his cousins collected each other, and me, I think I was the only one who accompanied them to Nairobi hospital. When we reached his room, he was holding his rosary. So immediately we arrived, he greets us and then asks, how are your parents at home? And then he immediately started telling us, that was the year the Koigi Wamwere was in, and his mother and other women were agitating for his release. So immediately he started asking us to pray for the country, to say the rosary, and then he decried the situation, saying, how can, because Koigi Wamwere's mother was threatening to undress in public. So he said, how can a country let its mothers undress? So he just talked to us about that, and then we came out into the parking. When we reached the parking, then my husband and his cousin were asking, so what is Papa suffering from? We forgot to ask him what he was suffering from. He only talked about the country, pray for the country, and we left with that. So
he blessed other people before him.
Yes. So let's just learn to emulate his virtues, little by little, and we shall be doing good.
And your parting shot, Mr. Herbert, perhaps you could share with us a few favors you've received through the intercession of the servant of God as your parting shot.
Yeah, I would say many favors actually. Some of them you may not explain a lot, but there are many that we have received. And like this job I'm doing, I told you already at the beginning, we were just talked about it that I'd retired and wanted to settle at home. So we went prepared to organize the house nicely. Then one time, as we were praying, I think after prayers, my wife asked me, now we want to go home. And we have these 2 children. We have 2 children who are not finished university. So we have 7 children in all. 5 had graduated, but 2 are still in the house. So she asked me, how about these children? How do we leave them like this? They will feel like we have abandoned them. That's what she told me. They will feel. I said, no. Let's give the other children a chance to take care of their brother and sister. That's what I was saying. Then she told me, no. Children of today don't understand that. It's good for us to be there for them, otherwise they will think we abandoned them. So I said, let's pray about it. So as we were praying like that, a job comes up to keep me in Nairobi and keep her still working, so that these guys can be pushed. One is graduating this year, end of this year. The other one is still coming. So
Wonderful.
Favors that he has given to us, even sickness. Find a child is in hospital. My daughters really love when they go to hospital and there are complications, their delivering complications are there, they say, let us all pray. Someone has quickly, we pray, and things resolve. So many favors.
Thank you very much, the Nabangis, that is Mr. Herbert and the wife, Mrs. Nabangi Jacinta, for making time and for this important discussion. Thank you for sharing your experience, your encounter with the servant of God and the virtues, and we pray that we continue to uphold them in our lives so that we build families that are stronger and steady, as the servant of God prayed and wished for his entire life. So I just wish to reiterate that the Mass had initially been scheduled to take place at the Holy Family Basilica, but due to some climate change summit that will be ongoing, the venue was changed to Queen of Apostles in Ruaraka at 10 a.m. That will be on Wednesday, 6th of September. So come and let us celebrate the life and times of the servant of God. We will be there as Capuchin TV. We will witness, and my nose for news tells me that there will be there is a communique from the Vatican, so you wouldn't avoid to miss that, the information embedded in that communique. And we pray and we hope against all hopes that it's good news. Definitely. I wish to thank my camera persons Charles Marvaton and Macharia Ikua. On the sound desk, I had Fred Ocheng. Video mixing, we had Kevin Kitavi and Benadine Paris. And on transmission, we had Peter Mwangi. I have been your host, Asash Elizabeth, and I wish you a great time and a fulfilling Thursday.
à igreja do meu bairro, vejo somente pessoas mais velhas. A igreja agora é coisa de velhos?
La iglesia no es un club para la tercera edad, como tampoco es un club juvenil. Si se convierte en algo de viejos, va a morir. San Juan Pablo II decía que si vivís con los jóvenes, también vos te volvés joven. Y la iglesia necesita a los jóvenes para no envejecer.
Dear Pope Francis, why did you choose the theme Mary arose and went with haste for this World Youth Day?
Porque María, en cuanto sabe que va a ser la Madre de Dios, no se queda allí tomándose un selfie o presumiendo. Lo primero que hace es ponerse en camino, a toda prisa, para servir, para ayudar. También ustedes tienen que aprender de ella a ponerse en camino para ayudar a los demás.
Attendez-vous des Jeunes de Lisbonne?
Me gustaría ver en Lisboa una semilla del mundo del futuro. Un mundo donde el amor esté en el centro, donde nos podamos sentir hermanas y hermanos. Estamos en guerra, necesitamos otra cosa, un mundo que no tenga miedo a testimoniar el Evangelio, un mundo con alegría, porque los cristianos, si no tenemos alegría, no somos creíbles, no nos cree nadie.
Rezemos para que a Jornada Mundial da Juventude em Lisboa
Will help us young people to set out in this journey
En témoin de l'évangile par notre propre vie.